Okay, so Ralph Havens here, physical therapist, and Tom Giammateo, Dr. Tom Giammateo, physical therapist, chiropractor, naturopath, and co-developer of integrative manual therapy. And, I was thinking today for our podcast, When Doctors Have No Answers, that's the name of our podcast. And we love doctors. They can really help. We've been to doctors during trauma situations. They're so needed. And then we have this way of helping in a complementary way for some of the aches and pains and other conditions. And I was thinking, I might as well stop asking people, how are you doing? And just ask them, where do you hurt? Because it seems like most people are dealing with some sort of physical pain and all sorts of other stuff. But there's a way to help. And what I want to talk to people about today is for the runners, the walkers, the running coaches, the chiropractors, physical therapists, massage therapists, other people that are interested in healing. I've got an idea to run by you about runner's knee or ankle pain or knee pain or hip pain, something that's stopping you from running. And I'm going to show you something because I did a little ChatGPT to ask ChatGPT about this. And I got the wrong one. Let me get that. We were going to do one on the eyesight, which we'll do another time. Let's see. Let me close that one out. And then we'll get right to Dr. Tom and see what he thinks about this. And I don't even have it up, so I'll have to do that later. So anyway, Dr. Tom, it's always so good to see you. And I'm excited to talk about this. Yeah, and we can talk about all your credentials for sure. IMTwellnesscenter.com in West Hartford, Connecticut, and we'll share more stuff in a little bit. But I'm really excited about this because back years ago in 2000, I started studying with you, and you had something called ball biomechanics, and then clicking, and then this advanced osteopathic technique that you took to a beyond mobility, muscle energy technique, then mobility templates, and then helix biomechanics, and all these ways to work on joints. And I want to ask you about those things, people talk about bone on bone, and I can't run anymore because my knees are bad, and an old ankle sprain that still stops somebody from running, or a hip pain, and we got total hips and total knees when it all wears out. And when I do just a regular search on the internet, the regular medical system doesn't have an answer that says we can heal this. It just says you manage it, and it's wear and tear. But I want to talk to you about something that's unique to integrated manual therapy, which is the joint space. Like, how does a joint stay with good space and not go bone on bone? And then, and how do we improve that space? And can we get somebody back to running if they've had this impact kind of over the years, wear and tear, and they don't get to run anymore? So thank you for being here.
Okay. On my screen, Ralph, I'm just seeing your screen share there.
Oh, so let me go ahead on. Oh, got it. Thank you. Okay, got it. Okay, so we're good.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So the process of integrated manual therapy has taken many journeys. And I started in 1987 as I graduated out of physical therapy school, and I wanted to learn how to mobilize or manipulate different tissues. In my search to do that, I could have taken weekend courses and decided, why don't I go to experts in manipulation called the chiropractors. And I went out to Chicago's National University of Chiropractic to start a 5-year program with them. And second semester, they actually hired me because of my physical therapy degree to help teach them the physical therapy portions of their education. So I was a teaching fellow. 2 things about that were I needed to, for the chiropractic, they made me take every class again because they wanted to teach things their way. I was frustrated at first, why this is dumb. But as I started getting past the first year, I got to hear second things twice. I got to hear it in an experiential and a clinical way that I never heard it before. So repetition is always good because you learn something the second time around. So as we started to work with these joints, you got to get space. And Western medicine says you have osteoporosis. And that just means osteo means bone, and porosis means weakening of the bone, or the joints actually disintegrate. And they look like somebody's put a sander to one of them or another. So traditional medicine never thought that you should have joint spaces. And, the doctor would say to somebody in their 40s, oh, you got a little arthritis here, but when it really bothers you, when you can't do anything anymore, then you're going to come in and we'll just give you a knee replacement. And they had never asked about the cause of the issues and things like that, right? So Ralph is holding up a wonderful model of the knee. And I got my set over here too, Ralph.
Awesome. We're prepared. We didn't need, Tom didn't know we were going to do this, and there it is, right in his hands.
Okay. As we were chatting the 2 minutes before, I grabbed a couple things just for demonstration purposes.
Oh, excellent.
So we are currently in the 5th week of the Connecticut School of Integrated Management 12-week program, and it's the 2nd year for these students, the 1st week of the 4-week program. And we reviewed some biomechanics, and they actually got to feel the difference between a mobilization, a muscle energy technique, and then the helix technique. And they can actually feel the space being created in the joint. Okay. So for those that are a little bit have some kinesiology and some anatomy pieces, we're looking at the knee as an interesting joint. It's classified as a hinge joint, which means it opens and closes like a door. Okay, but it's a little more complicated than that, because from all the way back here, when your foot hits your butt, coming all the way up to about 15 degrees, it's just a pure hinge joint. In the last 15 degrees, it actually rotates in and thing called a locking home mechanism, where the ACL and the PCL lock it so that you could stand on your leg and not need your muscles. So it's not just pure 90-degree hinge joint to begin with. If we look at what else is in there, we have the bones, we have the joint capsule, which is a bag around it, having synovial joint fluid in it. And then we have the muscles on top. When you take a classic x-ray, you just see the 2 bones and some space in here. And as people get more and more arthritic, the bones actually touch together and you start to see corrosion and eruption in this whole piece. My contention that IMT and not too many osteopaths know about, and very rarely the chiropractors, is that when we have a healthy joint, we never have the bones touch. We actually don't even have the cartilage touch. Okay. So in physics, we have regular physics, Newtonian physics, where you throw an apple up and the gravity pulls it down. And then we have quantum physics, string theory, and all these multidimensional relativities that are now, thanks to the Big Bang, are in our vocabulary. So if you have a healthy person walking and they put full weight and they lift the other leg up, and you put your hand around the knee, it just feels like the muscles get tight. In an arthritic joint, you put it on, the bone comes down and all the fluid actually squirts out the sides. And what happens there is we lose our joint space. Now, synovial joint fluid is part of quantum physics. It's almost like that cornstarch experiment, where if you put enough water in cornstarch and you gently put your finger in, it will melt all the way through. But the more speed you have in it, the more the resistance of the cornstarch. Well, synovial fluid does that also. Okay, so we have the perfect reset every time we decompress our molecules of our synovial fluid. So as the body comes in and heals strike, and as we put weight on it, all that synovial fluid locks up into a solid, and it's slipperier than ice. So we're not actually touching on the cartilage. We're living on a solid matrix that's there for a split second, and when you reduce the pressure, it goes away and resets itself. So it's the autonomic, it's automatic, and it's a perfect system that rehydrates itself every time. When that fluid doesn't get to lubricate that, and now you got cartilage on cartilage, eventually that's going to wear down, and then you hit bone on bone. So not too many other professions, besides a little bit of muscle energy, really talk about this joint space, and it swells up in the area.
And you know, I saw something in the regular medical literature a long time ago about if a joint is lined up optimally. They talked about quanta and the energy separating it, and if it's a little askew, it collapses down.
Right.
So it's interesting.
The other example I give of that is a folding chair, right? And if it's open, you sit on it. But once you close the folding chair, it falls over and the space is so that's the difference between collapse space and quantum space. And how do we create that? So we started with muscle energy. We finished our muscle energy blue book, which was 300 pages of graphics on how to do for every single joint in the body. And then we started to discover these reflexes, which we called mobility templates. And we were using the autonomic reflexes and the sympathetic reflexes to pump up this space. And that still works. And then in about 2015, we found a deeper quanta stimulating in the reflexes of all the special joints. So the wrist, the ankle, the talus, the knee, and also the sternum, the xiphoid. And when you touch these points, it actually reinflates that joint space back.
They're like a magic point to touch.
Right. But there's a lot of quantum physics behind that whole piece. And we generate that and we swell that, have that swell. So I mentioned that our 5th week, they did that for a lab. They looked at each other's knees, they watched them walk, and they retreated one side, and the person said, well, that's slippery. So we fixed the other side, that's a little slippery. And then we did the muscle energy, and they felt, oh, I'm not smashing my bones together. And then when we did the helix, it's like, oh, I have a cloud in between there. And that's sort of like a lot of the creation of what we use for kinesiology of IMT, because if your disc spaces in your spine are in complete inflation, you should be able to roll yourself down and touch your toes and not fall over.
And you know, my wife, we worked on her fixing up all the things with an IMT approach when Jen was pregnant, and she was bending all the way to the floor the day she had Baden. So
and that's our ideal scene for a pregnant woman, is that all her hip joints and spine are open up, so that when the baby pushes, the pelvis spreads open and the baby's head can go through. So that in our fertility to prenatal care to delivery, a woman comes in so we can keep those biomechanics going. You know?
Yeah.
So
keep it kind of it's like you keep working on I work on my little boy for his running a few times a week. You know, I always tell him Noah Lyles has his chiropractor and physical therapist, and we keep, you know, tuning the Ferrari. It's about that. And there's something really magic called the interbarrier zone. And there's I was working on a friend just in the middle of a run once, and he was saying, but you're not pushing very hard. And it was that other technique that you've shown me, the RRR technique. And there's something magic about just the right amount of pressure, but not just forcing, like you're a chiropractor, you know, and physical therapist, we're trained in all these like aggressive techniques, but there's something different with IMT.
Yep. Well, we discovered that going indirect into a space, a lot of physical therapy, chiropractic techniques feel the locked piece, and then they just try to push beyond it, right? We go the opposite. Just like if you had a kitchen drawer stuck and you had a fork up into the drawer mechanism, you have to push it in and shake it so the fork falls down before you go that way. Otherwise, you wreck the fork, you wreck your cabinet at the same time. So 99% of all IMT techniques only go to that layer, and you actually get better with homeopathic light touch therapies than you do with going into the barriers. So there's a thing called dry needling that the physical therapists and chiropractors are doing now. There's also a gua sha is the Chinese name, or Granstead is the new name of it, where they actually take metal bars and scrub out your tendons, and you get black and blues from those. And some people do get a little bit better, but there's also tissue damage. So the last piece of that, Ralph, is to say, when you look at the super sports like football and basketball, and when these athletes have gone through all this stuff that have potential to play, when they jump off the field, like an NFL football player is, by the time he's 30, his body's like 55 years old and aging because they pushed it too much. And sports medicine is the same way. It's not to give you the best possibility of what you're going to heal with. It's going to get you back to activity. And we worry about the broken part a little bit later on. You know, if we could replace your ACL now so you can play your sports, but that person has the potential higher than somebody else to get a total knee in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah. And, you know, I see runners, young runners, and I see them wearing a lot of kinesio tape and those little Chopat knee straps. And I'm like, one of the rules is that we have is we don't run through pain. And because it's like maybe you're running right now with some pain and you're managing it, but it gets a little worse and then you're not running. And then it gets a little worse and you're one of those people that says, oh, I can't run anymore. And so it's, there's something about the optimum amount of training too. So I just want to put that out there for all those little guys out there. We kind of think, no pain, no pain is our thing.
And one of the biggest things is nobody really wants to respect is how is our stress level in our body? How does our adrenal stress response to that? And we notice that some people walk with their knees and hips in alignment. Some people walk like a cowboy, bow-legged, and somebody that their knees are touching. And those people are generally 90% adrenal stress and kidney deficient in acupuncture. And we want to keep our knees and our femurs and our tibias direct in line, even with running. And everything we do after that is a problem.
Yeah, and then we get the joint space, and life gets better very fast. So reach out to Tom, West Hartford, Connecticut, IMTWellnessCenter.com, and me on the other side of the US, Bellingham, Washington, Fairhaven, RalphHavens.com. And I just showed Tom our new office that we're getting hopefully in another day or two. And
I'm excited.
We got to get Tom out here. So if you're a therapist or a chiropractor or massage therapist or a running coach, and you want Tom to come out to Bellingham, let me know and we'll make it happen. I'm just putting that out there. So Tom, I know we want to jump off early and chat, so I'll end the recording now. And this is great, man. Thank you so much. Let's go there and